The first three videos have been very compacted and will most likely require watching it several times just to make sure. Any questions, please feel free to reach out on the website. In this video, we will cover 10 things, starting with logistics. The main focus and priority of this whole thing is the block captains reporting injured people up the chain so the first responders can know about them and get to them. After the injured are taken care of, everything else will be about managing it till life gets back to normal. Ideally, the EPC will be on the scene rather quickly to assist the block captains with injured people. However, it was already mentioned in the previous video that this will take some time to set up. There's a small line item that was mentioned in the last video which is crucial to understand, and that is, make sure your family is taken care of first. Actually, you must take care of yourself first, just like the airlines suggest when the oxygen masks drop out of the ceiling. Then your family. If you aren't squared away, you can't help anyone else. And if your family isn't taken care of, you won't be able to concentrate on anything else. So these two things must be taken care of first, and because of that, this plan will take some time to fully implement. So the process is everyone in the community is going to be on their own initially, then come together to help out. But regardless of how long it takes, it will come together much sooner than anything else. And there will be much we can do as citizens to work together to improve our circumstances. Remember, this is a city of about 34,000 people who will all be affected all at once. Even the first responders will be affected. Let's talk a moment about the EPC. Remember, a ward council transitions into the EPC when the situation is bad enough that government, first responders, utilities, and communications are offline or greatly hampered. The EPC will consist of some of the members of the ward council and be expanded to include other members of the community. With the four government agencies offline, first responders will be the first back online, but they will have their hands full, and no doubt first responders from other parts of the state or country will be coming in. But that all takes time. We know that despite the best efforts, very few people will actually do the necessary preparations for an event like this. And therefore, everyone will go into the disaster as they are. The EPC is not there to relieve people because they didn't prepare. They're there to guide them with love how they can move forward. Don't make it too complicated. It will be important to gather information and organize it and discuss it to prioritize the work that needs to be done. Be honest and open and understanding when discussing it. People's emotions will be close to the surface during a time like this, and it will be very important to remember we are all on the same team. Maps of each precinct will be important to mark troubled spots. Guide and empower the block captains and give them direction. There may be moments where multiple blocks work together to accomplish a goal. Get the people busy being productive. It will give them a sense of control, and the busier they are, the better they will feel, and the faster things will improve. All of the interaction is great medicine for any community. There will be no confiscation of anything. People can be asked, but that's it. Those that choose to give or donate will receive blessings so long as they have the agency to choose. In this way, both parties may be blessed. The ward building. Here are the ward building locations where each precinct will stage from. Presuming the ward buildings will be intact, they would be a good place for all levels of leadership. And it would be a good place for the injured to be gathered so they can be ministered to. It will help the first responders have a greater impact if they are in one location. Nevertheless, some injuries may get worse if people are moved prematurely, so we'll have to play that by ear. The ward building will be a natural and desirable spot for people to gather, and you can't blame them, but it may not be the best solution given these reasons. Even if the plumbing is working, it's not going to handle the population of 2 to 3 precincts per building, and the kitchen will not be large enough either. Camping outside won't work because some of the parking area will probably end up being a temporary landfill for trees and debris, and there's still the bathroom issue. And if too many people are gathered, it will leave the neighborhoods empty for opportunists. That is something to be mindful about. Nevertheless, you'll have to decide what is best for your people depending on the circumstances. Communications. The best case scenario would be phones if they're up. Of course, if they're up, it wouldn't be an emergency, would it? But if the phones are down, there's a slight chance you may still be able to text even though you can't call out, so give that a try. Worst case scenario would be runners with paper, but that will create a large lag time. The middle ground would be radios. FRS radios between precinct chairs and block captains, and a ham radio between precinct chairs and district communication specialists. So, yes, the precinct chair will have two radios, but that's good because the FRS radio will have a lot of chatter, while the ham radio will filter all that out and provide a clear line between the precinct chair and the district communication specialist. Besides, the block captains can talk between themselves and even the EPC, while the precinct chair is relaying information up and down the chain on their own private ham radio. This is all volunteer, so people will have to purchase and maintain these radios on their own. Keep in mind, many people are already using FRS radios as these are public frequencies, so expect to have people listening and getting in the way. There are many types of ham radios. The Baofeng radios are a more affordable version of a ham radio, and they can be purchased on Amazon for relatively the same price as an FRS radio. They aren't as powerful as the ham radios are, but should be able to communicate through the district. Baofeng still require a ham radio license. Here's a map showing some test results between the Baofeng and FRS radios originating from the Greenfield Chapel. The colors are green for good reception, yellow for weak, staticky and intermittent reception, and red for no reception. You'll notice the FRS radios start weak and intermittent and get worse to the point where they don't work at all. Where the Baofeng has mostly good reception until it gets to the furthest south point along Park Ridge Drive, where it becomes weak. Only in the furthest southwest corner of Precinct 7 does it not transmit. But in a real life situation, the starting point won't be the Greenfield Chapel, it will be in the center where the stake center is, and the Baofeng should transmit properly. Cert Training. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. It is a training course designed to turn ordinary citizens into makeshift first responders. CERT people will not have the long extensive training as first responders, but they will have enough to control situations properly until the first responders arrive. Ideally, CERT people living in each precinct will gather to work as a team and assist in all medical needs of the community. They will perform triage, gather the injured, and prepare them for first responders to come and administer or to be taken away by ambulance or bus to hospitals for treatment. They receive minor firefighting training and search and rescue. It is provided by Unified Fire and the City of Cottonwood Heights. It's an 8-week course and will require some time and dedication, but well worth it. It can be used anywhere, and the people most grateful for the training just may be your family. Remember, ultimately, your safety depends on yourself and the level of preparation. Medical coordinators. If there are no CERT people in the precinct to help, it would fall onto you and your team to assist the injured. Remember, the disaster we are preparing for, an earthquake, would bring injuries that would not have existed 5 minutes before the disaster, such as cuts, sprains, fractured or broken bones, concussions, and excessive bleeding. Basic remedies for these may be bandages, ACE bandages, splints, crutches, direct pressure, or tourniquets for bleeding. These are all common occurrences that happen during outdoor activities. And when that happens, first aid will be administered until that person can get into a medical facility for proper treatment. And this will be the case here. Remember the color code? The red injuries are the ones to be addressed and concerned about. And you'll need to determine who falls into the yellow and red categories. And you'll need to document what happened to them. We don't know when the first responders will get there, and we may have to fill in to render aid until they do, just like what people do when they're on the trail. This is why CERT training is a great tool to help us know how to manage this, and we strongly advise you seek this training for you and your team. Also, understand not all people will want to be administered to, and that's okay, but be willing to offer it if they need it. In fact, if you do assist, you need to identify who you are and ask their permission before you can help, unless, of course, they're unconscious. Then you're checking for a pulse, breathing, capillary response, and excessive blood loss. But before you move anyone, you must talk to them to first learn of their injuries and tell them of your intentions. They may not want to be moved if their situation will get worse. It was mentioned that the ward building would be a great place for those injured, and that's true, but all cases may not apply. As just mentioned, some people may be in a worse condition if they are moved, while others may feel comfortable somewhere else, so you'll have to monitor that. Use others around you to help. Look for people within the community with medical knowledge. Cleanup coordinators. Organize the blocks to remove their debris. The main purpose will be to clear the streets for first responders and other vehicles. Consider using trucks and trailers in the community to cart debris to a central area, such as the parking lot of a ward building. This will also make it easier when the city comes by to collect it. Safety coordinators. Look for down power lines laying on rooftops or in the street. Use the red "Do Not Enter" tape to mark it off, and you should be able to find that at the local hardware shop. If there's an electrician living in the neighborhood, he or she would be a great friend in this situation. For precincts 7, 27, and 33, consider mudslides if an earthquake happens when it's raining. There's a canal going through precincts 4 and 10, so look for any signs of flooding. Ask block captains to remind each homeowner to check for gas leaks in their house and at the meter, and to turn off their gas meter only if they have to. The reason why is you can't turn it back on once it's been turned off. If there's a leak in the home, there may be a shut-off valve in the home that will do the trick. It will be up to the homeowner to decide if they feel their home is safe enough to enter and to stay in. None of us are structural engineers, and we need to respect the rights of the individual. However, we can still counsel with each other if it looks sketchy. It is hopeful that the homes will be well enough for people to stay in. If not, they may have a camper or tent as a temporary location they can put up in their yard. Security coordinators. You are not enforcers. We are looking for a person to simply look for any signs of potential problems, such as opportunists, and report it to the council. Any security action should be at the decision of the EPC, and that decision may be to do nothing or continue to monitor or radio law enforcement. But it will be the EPC making the decision and not one person. If the problem is too large, it may require multiple precinct EPCs and/or instruction from the stake president. We do not want any lone wolves. We are not trained for this, nor is there any training to provide. If we have a major earthquake, we want to get through this event as quickly and comfortably as possible, and with no one getting hurt and no national media attention except about how wonderful we are. In general, people are much better than the movies depict. Our day-to-day lifestyles tend to isolate us from each other, and that isolation weakens the community. We are stronger as a community the more we interact. It is very possible and likely that this will actually strengthen our community. Water and sanitation. Before a disaster, know where creeks and other water sources are and the access points. Not all water sources are good. The water may be very silty and may need to be strained a number of times before the water can begin the purification process. And after an earthquake, recheck to see if the earth has shifted the location of the water and the safest routes to get there. People may have enough stored water on hand, and perhaps we'll be okay in having enough water coming out of our pipes. But if not, then you'll be able to notify the blocks where to find other sources. Here in red is where our district is in comparison to these water areas. Even if there is running water, the sewage pipes may be compromised, making toilets inoperative. Learn about different types of makeshift latrines and how people can set those up for their blocks for individual use. We'll post some videos about that as well. Some final thoughts. Please remember, any community is only as strong as the number of families that are individually prepared, and individual preparation is really the key. Everyone here is a volunteer and a resident. There will be tons of mistakes. Everyone will be under great pressure and have a lot on their mind, but everyone will be doing their best. Try to have some patience and find some humor in the situation. After all, laughter is the best medicine. Not all of these positions are filled, and we encourage residents to volunteer and get involved. Thank you for taking the time and for your patience with these videos. We thought this would be the best medium to help people understand. Please review these often enough that you have a good understanding of what to do during an actual emergency, because these videos may not be accessible during that time. And if you have further questions or something that hasn't been addressed that you feel needs to or needs correcting, please feel free to reach out on the website. Thank you so much.